I'm Steve Kapp, co-founder of From Day One. I'm the editor of From Day One, and I have the pleasure of interviewing Deborah Merkin today. She is the CEO and founder of Gift Card Partners as well. And we'll be talking about how recognition at work is just crucial for employee engagement, fulfillment, and many other things, and especially for companies' overall financial health. So welcome, Deborah.
Thank you.
Great to have you here in Brooklyn. This is our home base, so thank you for being here. Now, I did a little reading on this subject before we talked here and found that rewarding and recognizing workers goes back as far as 538 BC, long before credit cards or anything digital things, when Cyrus the Great used a ceremony to recognize his construction workers for building the Jerusalem temple. The ceremony included a pat on the shoulder, a drink, and a coin with his image on it. So now we know this is a very long-standing tradition, and you are the latest incarnation of this many millennials of tradition. What inspired you to get into the field and start your own company?
I was in high-tech and software and hardware companies before this for a long time. Mm-hmm. And basically I liked the fact that it was, in those days, easy. There were no contracts, mm-hmm. and we were rewarding people with gift cards. Mm-hmm. And gift cards were fairly new to the reward mix. Mm-hmm. So we've been in the business for now, it'll be 20 years in December. So mm-hmm. It's all good.
Now, here's a really fundamental question, and we will go on into some nuances of this, but why give people a gift card instead of just a little cash bonus in their paycheck or somewhere?
So a gift card is part of a whole program. Mm-hmm. You recognize somebody for doing a good job. You reward somebody so that it's like emphasizing and remembering that I did this great thing for my company, mm-hmm. and I was recognized. And the reward is the thing at the end that you might get from your employer as an added recognition, which mm-hmm. then you remember it because you might share a dinner with your spouse or your girlfriend or boyfriend, or you might, it might be a special day on a family trip, as long as you share it. And a gift card can let you do that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's memorable. It has trophy value.
Yeah, and it also, you can show individualization of it too, that you know the person. Yes. And we'll get into that a little more.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Now, why in 24 going into 25 do you think that there's this recognition of employees and engagement is more important than it's ever been?
Oh my God, it is so important today. It is just there's a diverse workforce that has, I figured out today, not today, but when I was preparing, 5 generations, because now you have Gen Alpha. So you have baby boomers, millennials, Gen Zs, and now alphas, which are
coming
right up into the workforce. And they want different things. And they need different things. They're in different life stages. So mm-hmm. if you think about it that way, it's so important to do that and then you add on to it that you have quiet quitters. Has anybody ever heard that? Okay, I just want to make sure because
there's a lot of quiet terms that came out of that. And in fact, my wife she's a therapist and wrote a story about quiet thriving. So if you don't want to quiet quit, you could quiet thrive. So that whole meme launched a lot of little spin-offs, but you don't want
the bottom line. The bottom line is you have all these diverse groups. You also have well-being of employees who need extra help, and they want to feel that their boss knows them, that what they do gives back to the company, and that it's important. And that is another way to look at it.
Mm-hmm. And also, it's creates some engagement too, and that you're not. So I said someone earlier on the main stage said, "Don't ghost your manager." Well, you don't want to ghost your worker either. I mean, in that sense,
it basically the information, we were reading a Gallup study, and then there's another study from the Incentive Research Federation that was done with Insperity, and both of them basically said the same thing. You look at your employees as being engaged and thriving in your community. They need teamwork. They need to make sure everybody needs to work together for the common goal, the KPIs, the strategy, et cetera, and they need to know where they fit. Mm-hmm. So given that, you're looking, and you have this diverse group, it's more of a challenge than ever before, I think, as well.
And just to define our terms, maybe could you tell us some of the subtlety, the difference between recognition versus reward?
Yeah, I think I did the example earlier, but recognition is, hey, Tom, you did a great job on that RFP. Thank you for, coming in during the weekend to finish it on the deadline. Really appreciate it. Now we'll wait for, the answer, if we're one of the finalists. Mm-hmm. And that's just recognizing that somebody went and did something on their, that what may be their personal time. And that's very important, especially for the younger, I shouldn't say this like an old lady, but a younger generation, the Gen Zs, a little bit of the younger millennials and alphas, because they value their own personal time. And when they go above and beyond, they want to be recognized. So given that scenario, if you will, then you're talking about, that's the recognition. You've got given, the boss has given, recognized that I worked a little bit on Saturday or whatever into my family time. The next piece is rewarding them. And you don't always reward when you recognize, but you may later when you get that if you get that customer through the RFP process that Tom did, then you want to recognize them. They brought revenue into the company. That what that does is say to them that it reinforces that they are a contribution to the end game, which is making the company financially, grow. And so that's one way of looking at it. And the other is the intrinsic value that it gives to the employee, which causes teamwork because their boss acknowledged that they had a contribution on this RFP, et cetera. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, and one thing that's striking is the timing matters, right? You can do something. We'll get into a little bit the details of just how the things function, but if you wait too long to hear that you did a great job and why and when and what you did, you're losing a moment, right? If you're,
I think so. We look at the timing and the recognition. You want to celebrate it when you got that new customer. Either publicly, and it depends on the person again. Maybe Tom's shy and doesn't want to get publicly accommodated. Maybe they just want that reward at the end to share it with their girlfriend, spouse, whatever. So that's the other way to look at it. You have to know the employee. What matters to the employee is different. You might want a Macy's card. You might want, I don't know your name, but anyway, you're sitting right in front of me. So you might want,
I would like a Shake Shack card.
All right, a Shake Shack card. There you go.
It's right around the corner down here, and it's
I was at the original one.
Oh,
and,
wow.
Well,
the card, it seems like also a gift card is like an authorization to go spend something rather than a little indulgence or something like that you might not get otherwise.
There are two kinds of rewards, quite honestly. There's an everyday spend reward. We're in a healthcare program, and let's say you have a Medicare or Medicaid, person. You might want to reward them for healthy behaviors, and you might want to do that because they live in a food desert. So you give them a grocery card or a new card that's just coming out on the market, which is a card that goes to 70,000 grocers in the country. So to get them healthy, fruits and vegetables. You may do it another way too, but that is a thought as well. So that's an everyday spend. Whereas if I'm giving you a reward, we'll go back to my RFP example. I'm giving you dinner or an experience or whatever through a gift card. That's a aspirational reward. It's something I wouldn't do. And they have different purposes, as you can see, but they're both very valid rewards.
Now, are these, you mentioned Tom, the,
Yeah.
a person you made Tom, who doesn't like a lot of attention. Does a gift card award, is it made public generally? What's the philosophy on that?
It depends on the company.
Yeah.
And again, you have to know your employee.
Yeah.
So Mary is she wants everybody in the department to know. Mm-hmm. And so, the next departmental meeting, maybe you have a Monday morning meeting or something, Frank, the manager, is going to make a big deal out of it and give her maybe a physical card or surprise her with a digital card with an SMS text. Either way is good.
Just right on your phone. Yeah.
Right. But he makes a speech. He recognizes the work that Mary did on whatever. And so Mary wants that. She wants to be in front of her peers and feel like she belongs and she's part of the work community and that she's giving back. Being authentic from the manager is very important, that the manager knows Mary and knows the difference between Tom and Mary. So each person is different.
Now, you mentioned earlier about the impact this has on the company. So for the people in the audience, if they implement a program that's like this by some means, apparently there's a tangible effect. There was a wide-ranging survey by Gallup and WorkHuman, and they found a real connection between praise and profits.
Right.
As part of the study, they looked at just thousands of people around the world. It seemed to be a really human thing.
Yeah, I think it was the first time, and the IRF has a similar survey, but they look at it a little bit differently. But in the end, if you run a company or you're part of the management team of a company, there are 4 pieces that matter to you. It's the wages you get. Do I get a fair wage? So that's compensation. The variable compensation, you're in the sales department and your variable compensation sometimes is more than your wages. And you also have non-cash compensation, which could be that your boss gives you a day off. It could be that you get a gift card. Yeah. And you get a choice card, and it's sent to the whole. A choice card is a card that we have that is good at 300 locations. 300 brands. So then the person comes in and chooses what they want, what's important to them. So it has better, what I call, trophy value.
So in tracing this in the big study, how did they figure out that somehow? So I get my Shake Shack card, I get my bacon cheeseburger, and I'm going to be more collaborative with my colleagues because of...
you feel good about what you're doing, and you also feel like, I'm a member of this team, and you don't know, we were talking about it last night at dinner, you don't know when you hire an employee or you work with an employee what's happening at home all the time anymore. Yeah. People work in remote, hybrid, and less frequently these days in an office, but whatever. And so you don't know them the way you kind of used to know them when you sat next to the cubicle and you kind of habitually overheard what they were doing or talking about, or you talk to them at lunch or whatever. So you don't have that kind of connection peer to peer, I think. So in reality, you want to be able to, again, acknowledge and give back to them what they need, and having a selection of cards helps you identify if you're a manager and you know that the guy has been saving up to take his wife out for their anniversary dinner and they want to go to, I hope not Shake Shack, but a more a special restaurant, and we have that gift card.
Lavara. It's a very, it
Okay,
has a
Lavara.
Michelin star. Yeah, okay. It's
Okay,
in
yeah.
Cobble Hill. Anyhow,
Anyway,
yes,
so
Brooklyn reference.
So, and you give them that. That tells the employee, you know me. So you're being authentic in that gift. If you're doing it every quarter and you just kind of hand out cards, that's not as authentic as you're doing it for behavior or something that they achieved to the current research anyway. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I know one of the members on our staff who's at the front registration desk loves lobster rolls. So I'm going to keep make a mental note about this. That maybe we could get her a lobster roll.
Maybe
So
I'll take
now,
her to me.
Now, in the psychological, we develop a lot of tools and HR tech that helps people do their work, and it's pretty digital and calculating. But the impact of this this kind of a reward recognition has a subconscious effect too. You don't think, oh, I got my card and I'm going to
Intrinsic.
stay an hour later. So how does that kind of work then?
Well, because they know that they're contributing to it, it does. It shows up on the bottom line, which I didn't say, but the poll that Gallup put together basically says for every 10,000 people, you get almost $92 million more in profit if you have the right tools and it's done from the top down in everything that the company does. So that's bottom line profit. That also is in the form of keeping an employee, retaining employees for more than 2 years. I guess the average is 2 years when I started looking, and the Insperity piece talks about that you're 45% more likely to keep an employee with these kinds of programs and recognition and reward programs and having KPIs that, and from the top down, everybody's beating, rowing upstream together in the boat.
Well, how do you scale a program like this up so that managers are empowered to do something in a timely way, in an appropriate way, and all that? Because it seems like if there's too much bureaucracy, it won't happen.
No, I'm a small company, but
in bigger
right.
ones,
But in a big company, you have more tools at your beck and call, basically, and they have procedures. And if they do it right, they're talking about the strategy for next year to the whole crew. They're putting KPIs at the department level, and the department manager then breaks that out and says, I'll pick on Tom again. Tom has to do, their individual KPIs. So you're breaking that up so everybody is all going for the main goal of the company together.
The overall goal, yeah.
Okay, and that's the KPI part of it. The reward, your financial package, if you will, what I just said is, your salary, your variable comp, your medical and dental and all of those things, and non-variable comp, those gift cards, et cetera, that you may have, or a day off or whatever goes on, are also very important. But it's all got to be orchestrated from the top down creatively. In our portal, our B2B Engage to Reward portal, we can divide the gift card component, the reward component into departments. So the department, you may have a corporate budget for rewards, and in the sales department you get a little more because maybe that will be some not only variable comp, maybe that will be their bonus with a Visa card, or a custom Visa card or whatever. So you want to be able to deliver those, and you might want to do. I lost my train of thought.
Different programs. Well, I have another question for you, though.
Okay, go ahead. Good.
Which
Thanks.
is, we all talk in these conferences we have, there's a lot of talk about inclusion and bring your whole self to work, and that sort of sometimes seems like lip service. But this is a way of recognizing people for who they are and not just what they're doing.
Exactly.
Right?
That's why the individual and the personalized messaging on when you give a reward. Again, in Engage to Reward, you can upload 500 names with either their SMS text or if you want physical delivery to the whole company at the same time. And you can put an individual message from the manager, the CEO, or whatever you want in that. We're recognizing you for this, Harry and Tom. You got that RFP that got us $1 million sale. So it's individual, so they're feeling authentic about it. You might be giving everybody a reward, but it also it creates teamwork. Doing that, and you're doing a rah-rah, but those rah-rahs help.
Yeah.
Do
you notice any patterns lately in terms of like all the offerings that you're giving people something of value that means something to them? Are there any trends in terms of what people crave or need, like food, a dining experience or an adventure or sneakers?
Every sneakers. That's a good one. Foot Locker. Again, it's individual.
Yeah.
It really is, and that's why we have this choice card, because that's an easy way to give it, and then the person chooses what they want, and they'll remember it more than if you gave, I hate to say this, necessarily a Visa card that's got $100 on it, but they got that $100, if there are sneakers that are $100, $100 sneakers.
At Marshalls, you can go and get a good pair at Marshalls. Yes.
Right. So that's the way you look at it. Okay. They won't. Cash doesn't. I know they say cash is king, but in this, you want something memorable with trophy value, and if you can remember that, and personalization, those are and customization. Those are the things that you have to remember with a diverse workforce.
Now, here's where you would love to know just something very specific about, which is your Engage to Reward platform.
Right.
Do you want to tell us just a little bit more about how that works?
Sure. It's a B2B platform. You get credentials. You can log in. You can have it's flexible. It's really easy to use, and you can do all sorts of things with it. So we have all sorts of programs. And what we like about it really is that you log in as an administrator, and you have the departmental budgets, and the administrator okays it because it's within your budget. So you can do those kinds of things. You can do the idea of giving the whole company all at once as a surprise at a company outing or something. By the way, we made this financial number that our goal was to do $10 million. We did $20 million. That's a big company for me. $20 million this year because of all of you participated, working so hard and really being with the program. So all of a sudden you'll see on your phone flashing, everybody gets either a text or a link to a card. I mean, that's kind of a big wow.
Yeah, a big moment. And everyone gets it at the same time.
Yep.
Okay, yeah,
exactly.
A moment, yeah. All right. Well, all right. I wanted to ask you two more questions. One is, your company is a female-owned business.
Yes,
it's you.
It is. We're certified.
Yes.
We're certified women-owned business.
Just for HR leaders, what has been like one of the biggest challenges in growing and evolving a business? And
it's always getting cash
and having a team
right, and keeping up with it. For us, it's having the money to always keep up with the technology, quite frankly. But the biggest challenge is just we have lots of competitors, and like everybody else, and maybe a women-owned business gets us in the door for the RFP, but the expectation is that we act as whatever the company wants. We have to deliver to the customer, and our biggest motto is that we deliver the right reward solution for your gift card reward solution for your business, and we really mean that. We're we don't have we do have an automated robot on our site, but for the most part, if you call with a customer service person or you call your sales rep, you're going to get them on the phone. Or get a return call within 24 hours.
That stands out now. I mean, chatbots are fine for really simple questions, and we all know how to use them, but it can also get pretty frustrating. So customer service is going to be a big story, I think, going forward. How about one key takeaway for the audience in terms of rewards and recognitions, something that is a good takeaway to take back
the
to
difference
their workplace?
between rewards and recognition, and the recognition, according to the Gallup article, which I was floored at, is your employees are expecting recognition weekly from their boss.
Wow.
That's a lot. I don't know how big your companies are or who you all are, but that's a lot to think about. And that's a thank you. It's a simple thank you for recognizing somebody's work differently from Tom to Harry or whatever, whoever, or Mary. And as HR people or people that are influencing that, remember that. And part of it is, quite honestly, when I was a mom, my kids went to soccer every week, right? And they went and they had, competition and everything. And we all, whether they lost or won, we gave them the same trophy. And I think that in the generations, the last 2 or 3 generations, they're expecting that thank you all the time. Because of that, almost when I started work, I'd be lucky if I ever talked to my boss, and he ever said anything. So it's different now, and because of the multi-generational piece of, they each need something different. They're in a different time of their life, and you have to be cognizant of that as a boss. Help them with the well-being in order for them to be productive. Whether you want to say, well, that's not my problem, that the guy has a problem. It is your problem. You know why it's your problem? Because if they have a financial problem or they have an emotional problem or whatever the problem is, that affects your bottom line. And that's kind of what you have to remember. I hope that you come and understand this kind of thing and the recognition and how easy it is to do business with us.
You reminded me of one more thing, which is you talked about kids all getting a trophy for participating. So the participation award has now become, like
ubiquitous.
Yeah, and also like sneered at and all that. But I noticed that one of my sons was in a sports camp, a Green Bay Packers sports camp, and there was they actually were customizing the award. So it wasn't just for showing up, but it would be if you weren't very fast, you might get Student of the Game award or something like that. But the coaches really recognized individuals for
and that's to build their confidence, right?
Yeah,
like
I have a strength. I have some strength.
I have some strength, and know that individual uniqueness that every employee brings or every person brings to the table, their culture, their uniqueness, and their bag of good and bad. And you have to recognize that and help when you need to be helped. And it might mean that you go a little out of your way sometimes, or you're just like, you have a family problem, go take the day off, Everybody understands that now. When, 20 years ago, you didn't understand that. I used to hide when I started the company. My son, who's now 28, was 2. And
wow.
And he would knock on I had a nanny, and then he would slam on the door, and I was mortified because people, since COVID, have become more apt to have an interruption from a kid. But I was like, get the kid away,
Yeah.
And those kinds of things. Now it's accepted. And there are things that we do things in my company. I don't like following rules. I'm an entrepreneur. So when we started the company, I didn't want like the 2 weeks or 3 weeks time off and we count every hour that you're out. I don't like that. So I trust my employees to give me notice when they're taking 2 weeks off, because if everybody takes 2 weeks off at the same time, we're in big trouble. And to understand that they need help, to take something off because they have a family situation. Maybe they have a sick parent or, a sick kid or whatever it is. And you have to be understanding, because that comes back to you in spades. We have a person on our staff that worked for us about, 10 years. We have a longevity. We just won an award called the Best and Brightest Award. And we've done it 11 years in 11 years in a row. But we have an employee in marketing who started out full-time, Then when COVID hit, her kids were home and she was supposed to homeschool her at the same time. And they're little, they're like first grade and kindergarten or something like that. And so she was like going to have a breakdown and you could see it. She's a great employee. So what I did is I took her aside and I said, look, this isn't working for you and it's not working for me either because you're trying to be too many things to too many people. And I can see the stress in you. How about going part-time for a little while? And we worked out hours that she could work when her kids, when you went back to school, it was a lot easier. But when, it would be, she can work 4 hours here and 5 hours there. And we just kind of figured it out during this rough patch that she was having because her husband is in an accounting firm and was not remote. So she was it. Now she still works part-time, but she doesn't really. She makes up the time at night. Her kids are older, fast forward.
So she's never
And
forgotten.
she's like she loves that she can be flexible, and we have like 2 or 3 employees like that.
Wow. It
That
sounds
work
like
at night or whatever.
it sounds like in ways big, like you're describing, and small everyday recognition. You need the whole whole menu.
You
and
do today.
And it's a very thoughtful process.
It
Wow.
is to me.
Well, Deborah, thank you. Any questions about how to make a program like this work or anything else like related? No? Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Deborah.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.